Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the SH Figuarts Injustice Joker figure. If you watched my Batman video yesterday, then you know Batman was a little bit of a hit or miss type of figure. I hope Joker's not the same. I hope Joker's a little bit better, but we'll see. So check out Batman if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen the Joker video, keep watching because that's the only way to see it. So he's 6.5 inches tall, just shy of 6.5, so he's taller than Batman by a little bit. Stay tuned to the end of the video and you'll see at least one photo of the two side by side. I assume I haven't taken the photos yet, but that'll probably be the case. Alright, so let's take a look at Joker. This is how he comes in the package. He's got the smiley face on there. A lot of shading on the eyes. I can't say if that's accurate or not because I don't remember from the game. It doesn't look bad necessarily. I don't mind it. However, I will point out that it isn't on this head. Very light shading on this head. One of them's accurate, one of them's not probably. Can't say which way though, so if you know, go ahead and let me know in the comments. So let's take a look at the accessories. We'll look at that head in a minute. This head is obviously the first alternate head, just kind of a standard grin. I really like the head sculpt. There's some nice texturing in the skin. The hair is done pretty well. I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the paint job. You can see some flesh tones peeking through around the scar. And just really nicely done. His eyes are looking up a little bit though, so that's kind of strange. But otherwise, it did a really good job with that head sculpt. Then we have another alternate head, which there isn't a whole lot for me to say anything about because it's wearing a mask. Paint job's okay. It's not great, but it will definitely suffice. Looks pretty good. I like that they've used a little bit of a glossiness on those eyeball lenses, so that's pretty cool. So those are the two alternate heads. We have the two chattering teeth, which is pretty nice. A little disappointing that I have some big pink spots on my teeth, but they're still pretty cool accessories, so I do appreciate that. And I'm just now realizing I dropped, there it is, I found the other accessory, so we'll get to that in a second. He comes with a big gun, which is nicely done. I really like that gun, and as you can see, he has a gun holding hand with a trigger finger. And this hand has a hinge going this way, which it's kind of interesting that the hands have hinges for a Figuarts figure. Every one I've ever had, the hands didn't have anything, and then we just had that ball hinge in the wrist, which provides more articulation than this does. So that's a little upsetting. Not upsetting as in I'm mad, upsetting as in I wish it had more articulation. But anyway, that's that hand. We'll get to the other hands in a minute. Comes with a crowbar with a tape wrapped handle. Metallic looking metal part, and then the top part painted red. That's pretty cool looking. And then a really cool looking knife, gold and purple handle with a really metallic blade with some little notches in it, which are supposed to look like battle damage on the blade, but that's pretty cool looking, so that's good. And then we'll go ahead and look at the hands now because I have to grab that other accessory that I didn't mention. So we already saw the trigger finger hand. This is a hand for the other accessory, which is just a little card, a playing card of a Joker. So he can hold that between the two fingers, and we'll set that aside for now. Here's a hand for holding the knife or the crowbar. Let's see if I can actually put that on camera. So there we go. And he can hold it just fine. Not really much to show you. It's not like Batman, who comes with a giant accessory that can't fit in his hands, so that's just no problem at all. We have another one for the other side, which we'll put the knife in, just because I want to use both of the accessories. The fingers are nice and soft, so you won't have any trouble. It's a really big knife, but I think it's it suits him. It's fitting for Joker. They all have just the regular hinge on here. Again, that's a little bit disheartening because it would have been nice to have a full ball hinge so we can get any range of motion we want. As you can see, I guess I should say, these are just kind of relaxed hands right here. Nice sculpt work on them. And then the ones that are on him, I think these are the ones, maybe I have them backwards, maybe the relaxed hands are on him in the package. Anyway, so he's got these also. And then just to show you, they just peg in like that, so that really limits the articulation. All we get is the rotation and the hinge. We don't have the full range of motion like we would with a ball hinge. It's not going to hurt the figure horribly. I mean, it just would have been nice. Let me grab this other accessory, which is statically stuck. Where'd it go? There we go. Alright. So this accessory is just a Joker card. I really wish they would have given us two because this thing is super tiny, really easily lost. Nicely done though, you can barely even see the dot matrix even super close up. So they did a good job printing that, but it's very, very thin and flimsy and very easily damaged, I believe. Obviously I'm not going to try it, but I have to say it would have been nice to have a spare. I'm pretty sure the Common Rider figures get a whole bunch of cards, so it would have been nice if he did too. What are you going to do though? He can hold it, just slide that in between the two fingers, and that'll make for some cool poses. You'll see that at the end of the video. Okay, so that's all of the accessories. Let's look at the figure. Batman had almost no paint to speak of, so I didn't really mention it other than on his head. Joker does have a whole lot of paint, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that right now. Aside from the head having the really dark eyes, the paint job on the head looks great. Looks really, really good. The jacket is kind of a metallic purple. The pants are a different metallic purple. We have a nice green in here. We have a little bit of metallic yellow in there for the shirt. Blue for the tie. The flowers painted nicely with some shading. All of these buckles and straps are painted. The buttons are painted. These straps, they're actually sculpted and then glued back on. It's a separate piece that's glued in there, but it works well. Straps back here, everything's painted and looks really good. The only problem is this set of straps. Again, it's a piece that's just glued on. They're not recessed properly, so they don't really look right. They just kind of look like they're sitting up there rather than straps that are inside. And his back is all chewed up. It came that way. A little disappointing. And then we have the purple paint going down the side here. I don't know if the zigzags are supposed to be like ties, not ties like that, but ties like tied rope, whatever you want to call that. Lacing, I think, is what you would probably say. I don't know if it's supposed to be painted separately or not. It's all the one shade, which is also the same case for the shoes. His laces are not painted. And maybe mine just got missed, but I have a feeling that's just the way they did it, so that's a little bit disappointing. They did paint the sole and this top part a separate color from the brown, but the laces are not painted. Okay, let's look at the articulation. So the head, pretty standard for SH Figuarts. It's an actual ball hinge, which is what the wrist should have, but they don't. Now the problem with this is, and you guys know if you collect the Dragon Ball Z figures, it doesn't really provide that much articulation for a head. Probably a double ball peg like on Batman would suffice. Either way, this will be fine. You're just going to probably have to pop the head off and move it around how you want to get the head posed. But then the neck is on at least a single ball peg, maybe a double. I haven't pulled it out to see, but the neck can move around. And just like Batman, you're not going to get much out of the actual head articulation. You're going to be using the neck articulation mostly. It doesn't really pose that much of a problem for the Joker, though it looks pretty good. For the shoulders, we have a giant ball peg in there that's going to move around for the whole shoulder. And then this is just the ball hinge that's going to give him pretty much all of his articulation. We get a pretty good range for the shoulder, despite the fact that this is hard plastic. It would have been nice if it was softer, but it's not going to be too much of a problem. You can't really get his arm to cross his chest at all, though. You probably won't need to do any more than this. I mean, you can see he gets pretty good range out of everything. So it's pretty good. I'm not really going to complain about that. I think it's all right. We do have a bicep swivel right here, and it's hidden by this top part of the bicep, so that's pretty nice. We have a single hinge in the elbow over here, which is okay. At least the molded plastic of the joint matches the sleeve, so even though the hinge kind of stands out a lot, it's the right color, so you don't notice it that much, so that's okay. And we've already talked about the wrists. All we get is that swivel and that hinge, so that could definitely be better, but it's certainly enough. It just could be better. Now, his torso is definitely different than most figure arts that we've seen, at least that I've seen. I believe it's just a single ball peg going up into the torso, and that's going to give us this. He can lean back pretty far, can't lean forward really at all due to the sculpt. Lean side to side a little bit, not a whole lot. And then we can do the standard waist twist. And I can't really show you. Let's see. Yeah, I can show you. Haha. Okay, so it's not quite a single ball peg. It's a single ball peg with a hinge. So it's pretty limited. I think they probably could have done a little bit better, but it's probably good enough since Joker doesn't need to have the most dynamic of poses anyway. I think that'll probably suffice. For the hips, standard figure arts hips. It's that hinged ball peg. Pretty stiff though. Those are nice and soft, I should mention. These are soft so they won't get in the way of the articulation. So we have the hinge that lets the leg drop down or go up. It doesn't give you that much of a range of motion. That much range of motion. Jeez, oh man, I can't talk. So it's still pretty limited even when you drop him down. His hips are pretty limited, but we do have the ball peg and the thigh swivel in there, so you can pose him. They work actually pretty well out to the side, much better than forward. And then we have a pretty decent swivel here, so that's pretty good. For the knees, we just have that single hinge, which is the wrong color. It's the same color as the elbows and the side piece here rather than the knee. On camera, it doesn't stand out too much. In person, I gotta say, it stands out a fair amount. Obviously, it's not horrible, but it would have been nice if that knee joint was the same as the pants. Would have been just fine then. I wouldn't have even thought anything of it. But having it that darker purple does make it stand out. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. For the ankle, we have the ball hinge again. So we can go up and down like this. We can rotate that ball hinge around to the side and get a really nice ankle rocker. So that works really well. His ankles are really nicely done. And then we have a toe hinge, which works pretty nicely. And it looks a lot better than Batman. So I have to say, Joker turned out to be a much more solid, I think, finished looking figure than Batman. He's not perfect. I think we probably should have gotten ball hinges in the wrist. I think they could have probably done a little bit better in the torso in making a lot more of this soft material rather than hard and giving us a little bit more articulation in there, but it's certainly not anything to complain about necessarily. So I think Joker probably turned out better than Batman, and you guys know I'm a Batman fan, so that's a little disappointing to me, but they're still both good figures. They're just not, or at least Batman is not great. Joker's still pretty darn good. I think he might make the top 10 list this year instead of Batman. So I think we've talked about everything. So I'm going to go ahead and call the video right there. Make sure you stick around for the photos at the end, guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.